Hey folks, I'm Bryce Oldaway. He is Ben Kingsley. We are the host of the Property Couch podcast. We're going to do Facebook Live today to talk about something that we're both super excited about. It's been something that's been kind of a vision for the last 10 years, mate.
It has. It's been obviously a really important thing. This problem that we're trying to solve for is this story around how do we synthesize all of the jargon, all of the information that's out and about in the marketplace. I've got to learn about interest rates, I've got to learn about return on investments, I've got to learn about sunk cost bias, I've got to learn about all these different types of things. Well, what you're going to learn today is how do we synthesize that into look at 1, 2, even 3 really simplistic, what I call next generation financial insight tools. That's how you do it, Bryce.
Folks, we think you're going to be really excited about what we're about to share with you, but a couple of things. Make sure you ask some questions, let us know where you're watching from, and use the like and the heart buttons. If there's something that you see that you like, we'll be able to see that feedback, and it'll keep us encouraged as we go through.
Too true.
All right, let's talk about a proven process here. Ben and I spent a bit of time putting this together over a decade ago now.
Yes.
Where we had this conversation around most people event. This in our business. Because if you don't organize finances, and when we are talking, so investing or taking action or thinking about what it looks like for your retirement or that end goal for lifestyle design, you get this lifestyle design. What looks like change that rules. The iceberg already helps see that this water to you've got people living a certain type of lifestyle. Something about it now. That focus that's what we're really excited about showcasing this for today. First, next insight, financial insight tool.
Speed as a speedometer in a car. The best way to think about it is obviously a speedo in the car measures the pace at which you're going, and that's exactly what WealthSPEED does. It focuses in on bringing that story of your accumulation of wealth into an hourly rate. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you're working, relaxing or sleeping, WealthSPEED will give you a calculation in terms of how your wealth is going every minute of every day.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. So let's give an example, Ben. All right. So Grace and Troy, they live in regional Victoria with one child, one owner-occupied home, one investment property. You can see the stats there. Annual income 162,820. Annual surplus cash flow of 33,500. Total cash savings of just under 32,000 there. Total assets, if you combine both assets of the investment and the non-investment, of 430 and 551 comes to 981. Liabilities of 551. Monthly expenses at 8,000. Annual tax payable of 33.5. So there's a monthly cash flow surplus of 2,500. So we're gonna use this as the base to see what it looks like. So take it away, Ben.
Yeah, so let's move into meeting this couple on More, the platform that has all of this rich information on it, obviously free to get access to. So if you're not familiar with the platform, you would go about putting all of your information in terms of income, assets, properties, other assets, expenditure, bills and payments, all of those things you would put in here. And the magic of the tool is then released inside the wealth dashboard, Bryce. And this is where we get to have a look at some of these new instruments, some of these next generation financial tools. And today, right now, sorry, I should say, we're talking about WealthSPEED. So if I click on WealthSPEED, I'm going to get a sense of what makes up my WealthSPEED. Now, my WealthSPEED is made up, let's start from go right to left. We've got debt reduction speed. So it's sort of like, wait a minute, how does that add to my wealth? It's really simple. If you're reducing the principal component of a debt, that's actually adding to overall. So that's debt reduction speed. Savings speed, Bryce, if I click on savings speed, is a combination of spending speed, pulling it, and then click on net income speed, you will see here that I've got working income speed, passive speed. Now, take on that you might have in the future. The problem that you might have in the future, you need to look at your passive income speed. So you can see all of this working income, this exertion income that's happening. So that's pretty healthy, but my investments, the money is not working harder for you. So I failed to mention earlier, but the great idea of knowing your wealth speed is all about assessing how hard your money is working for you. And that's what this story does. So that's the net income speed. That then brings it up into the combination of saving speed. And then we go into the asset speed. So that's the yield side. Now we're talking about the capital appreciation side. And so we can start to see here, we've got personal property value. So we remember we met Grace and Troy and they had that amount of money broken down into the investment property, 551,000. So that's also mixed into the overall speed. And then you've got the personal property value speed, which is the 430. And then you can see if they've got other investments, shares, and then ultimately their super speed. So that will give you some good indication, and that all sums up into the overall wealth speed in terms of what that story looks like.
All right, so let's have a quick look at some of the key takeaways here. So what it does, we think we want to change the narrative around how people talk about money, and it really comes down to what is your wealth speed. So Ben used that analogy of the car. Instead of going, how much do you earn, because no one says that, or how much do you spend on expenses, because no one says that, because no one talks about money. If we change the narrative around one thing, what was the speed that you drove to work today? Oh, I averaged about 80 kilometres an hour. Sure, no problem. What is your wealth speed? Well, we're sitting at $11 an hour, or we're sitting at $12 an hour, we're sitting at $20 an hour. It's actually what we would like to be the narrative. So it helps you with the current state of play because it's forward looking. It actually, if you remember what we said before, the problem is that people don't know that there's a problem that they're about to have. If we can bring that into present moment and say, okay, is that speed fast enough? Is that going to be fast enough for where I want to go? And if the answer is no, the next logical question says, well, how do I actually speed that up? So it leads to greater awareness, but here's the kicker. It means that people will actually take action, because the difference between people who are successful and the people who aren't successful usually is distilled down to that one thing, is the people who took action get to tell stories of things that were, and people who don't take action get to tell stories of what could have been. So it's largely helping you as a household better understand how the money is working for you, bring it into present time, and really your job is to make things go faster. Can I make my wealth speed go faster? And that's the ideal scenario for people here. All right, Ben, WealthCLOCK.
WealthCLOCK. So coming back to the car analogy, we're sitting in the car. We're now looking at our wealth speed, as our speedo. The other critical dashboard or instrument on our panel there that as we're driving our wealth creation car is our odometer. Now our odometer measures and tracks the distance that we've travelled in a traditional car sense. Well, it's the same job as what WealthCLOCK does. So WealthSPEED measures and records the distance you have travelled so far. So it's a perfect sort of moment in time record, but it's also doing another job. It's measuring momentum. So if you think about it, when you're driving a normal car, I've got speed in the car, I'm moving forward, and that is the odometer is measuring the kilometres. When it comes to the WealthCLOCK, what's happening is the WealthSPEED is the speed at which it's going. So not only is it measuring the distance traveled, it's also showing you basically that real-time momentum. So that's what we love about it. It's a really novel tool in terms of showing you what your WealthCLOCK can do. So that's what we want to do now is we're going to take a quick look at how the WealthCLOCK works. So here we are back inside the More platform with the dashboard here, and we can see here is WealthCLOCK. So you can see it just ticking over there in terms of that situation for this particular household. Now, what is your WealthCLOCK? Well, it's a combination of your net worth plus your WealthSPEED. So it's bringing those two combinations together. And because it's a live example clock, because remember it's just a guide, of course, it's using this calculation that's measuring appreciation and also this speed of income coming in and putting those two things together. So it's a great little fun tool that we've been inspired by debt clocks that we see in the US and around Australia, and we've made the same type of tool here to measure effectively your wealth accumulation in real time. Bit of fun.
It is a bit of fun. And folks, we want you to go and download it. So if you want to go to more, moorr.com.au, you can actually download it for free. You can see all the details of what Ben was talking about, how these gauges work. So if you can actually input your data and understand what your WealthSPEED is and what your WealthCLOCK is, you can start doing that straight away. But here's some key takeaways from WealthCLOCK. But first one is you get a sense of an idea of where you're at. And Ben talked about the momentum. It's kind of like when you're driving along and you've seen your odometer in your car and you know that the first marker is that you need to get serviced after 20,000 kilometres. You can see you're at 19,888. You're on track for your milestone. So you can start to see if you're on track for what you're trying to achieve. For those of you who've been building wealth for some time, it actually gives you this nice feeling to go, okay, it's actually this positive reinforcement that you go in and it's just accumulating and ticking over, and you get to see that, and helps you with the wealth effect. And for those just starting out, it actually helps you pay attention to your finances where you may not have put enough attention up to this point, or you may go, oh, okay, I'm in a good position, I can leverage this going forward. But hopefully it gives you the motivation to actually take some action, because as we said before, the people who take the action are the ones who get the results. So key takeaways. But just a reminder, you can go to more.com.au, and that's MOOR, and you can check this out for yourself.
Now the third one is the wealth tracker. So very consistent with sort of managing and measuring net worth. That's exactly what this does. Let's bring ourselves back to finish off the car analogy though, because we're loving this car analogy. Think of this as the GPS, okay? So what a GPS would normally do is track certain locations. It would record those locations, and it would record your traveled distances to those locations. Well, Wealth Tracker is doing the job of tracking that as well. So it's a historical record, and you're seeing the change in terms of how you're moving forward on your journey. So if you put information into the platform, it saves that, and every time you come back in and you do a checkup, and you update your information, you'll get a new calculation and you'll see a change from that. So let's go into the live demo now, and we can see it down here. I'm going to set the time period to a maximum of 3 years, and a maximum time period. So what we've got now in terms of it's available is all of the current and future updates that you're doing in terms of putting data in. But I can also tell you that we won't be far away from you being able to put some old spreadsheets, get those old spreadsheets out and load all that information in terms of what that looks like for you as well. So now behind Wealth Tracker, where you are seeing those measurements, we then break that down into what we call the net worth breakdown. And as you hover over those months, you'll see a breakdown based on the different categorizations that we've done, which is super, bank, properties, investments, other assets, and similar in terms of personal property loans versus investment property loans and other debts that you might have. And that gives you your culmination of your ultimate net worth. So another really interesting and insightful tool where we're synthesizing the information down into really palatable, easy to take away, easy to understand, and to our big point, easy to action on in terms of what you're trying to do.
Folks, there's a few good questions coming through, so I just want to remind you that we're going to answer some of those questions towards the end. So if you've got one, put your hand up, give us a thumbs up, leave a question, let us know where you're listening from. We'd love to go through those with you shortly. But look, some key takeaways from the Wealth Tracker is, look, it measures and monitors your wealth. So we've got some enormous feedback from our user base that they like actually seeing those milestones and those markers along the way. So they go, okay, this is where I am now. But just a little reminder of how far you've come by reference to last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, depending on how much data you have in there. So that's the first step. So it does track and save that history. It gives you a nice little segmented breakdown. You saw Ben did that as he hovered over, and you could see which assets, which classes you've got your money in, reports on that progress over time. And it also just gives you that sense of validation, which is really important, right? Because you're on this journey. Sometimes it can be lonely. The amount of people that are actually taking action is low. So if you can use this as a way to validate what you're doing, there is hopefully some real pride in the progress that you made. So I guess if we bring these all together, Ben, to tie up that
analogy,
these three tools. If your WealthSPEED is obviously the speedometer, the WealthCLOCK is the odometer, and the Wealth Tracker is to where you've been. Now, I'd like to tell the story here that at Christmas time, I took the family over to Perth. We drove our caravan over, and if I wanted to get there in 4 days, and if we were to average 80 kilometres an hour, we wouldn't have made it in 4 days because there's long stretches of road, Ben. A lot of time you're doing over 100.
Long straight stretches of road, right?
So the odometer told me how many kilometres I had to travel. The speed told me what pace I was going there, and I was using Google Maps, Ben. So that showed me the route that I was taking, which towns I was going to stop in. So there was a designated spot. So it's not too dissimilar to this. If I'm heading to a point of lifestyle design, financial peace, I actually need to know where I'm headed. I need to know what the speed is for me to actually get there, and I need to know what the route is along the way. So we're hoping, we're definitely hoping that you get a chance to use these, because all of a sudden it will bring everything into present moment. It'll give you some tools to actually measure and hopefully help you make those decisions going forward.
Yeah, they're designed to be forward-looking tools, right? So even though, to Bryce's point, it's a moment in time and it's an audit on where you're at, where you've come from. And coming back to our core message from using these tools, it really is about changing behaviour. It's about getting you interested in this sort of story, because we do know that wealth creation happens slowly over time. And so, you can't see a lot of those little incremental movements. Well, these tools do synthesize it down. So every time you go in and update your numbers, you are going to see those little incremental, hopefully, those green percentage gains that you're getting. And then you'll start to see your historical trackers start to show that progress in that sort of upward direction as you're starting to build out that wealth towards financial peace. So that's the intent, to get you started in terms of really being engaged with money management and obviously with wealth creation.
And these tools are free, folks. This part of our commitment to help people get to the financial peace stage with tools and resources. So we launched our app at the end of last year. It was my wife loves the fact that we launched the app, because we've been using the Money Smart system for over a decade. But to be able to have that on-the-go analysis of the spend and where it goes within our provisions jar has been enormous. So we're excited about that. We also launched My Goals. So if you have a look on the screen there, the fourth graphic from the right, or the third white one, it says Be Worry Free. You can see there's a vertical timeline there. So you can actually set major goals in the timeline and actually see those visually on the go as well. So that's super useful. I talked about Money Smarts. That's been a system that we've been teaching on the podcast to our clients over the last decade plus. So that's now available on the go rather than just being on your desktop. And then, of course, it has WealthCLOCK, WealthSPEED, and Wealth Tracker. So a bit like your banking apps, you can go on the desktop, you can go on your iPad, you can go on your iPhone. So it's available to go wherever you are. And so it's more than just a money management app. It's a lifestyle by design app. So you can see just from a hint there, you can see that we can see what our goals are. You can see what your WealthCLOCK is. You can see what your WealthSPEED is, and you can also use it to manage the cash flow under your roof on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, using the rules-based management system that we have, that we talked about in our book, Make Money Simple Again. So it's completely free. So we want you to use it. We want you to go check it out and hopefully add value to your household, the way you're using money, particularly in a time when household budgets are being stretched, Ben.
Yeah, they are, Bryce. And so ultimately, from that point of view, we also want to make sure that you can understand that when you are checking it out, there's different features across both the web version as well as the mobile version. And yeah, we're really excited about what's coming soon in terms of, we're going to, in the web version, bring up the web version consistent with the card system that we're running on the mobile version. But just remember, to Bryce's point, all the data is universal. It's just the screen share in terms of how we're showing the user experience on the mobile and the web version. They are going to start coming together. So we're really excited about this card story, because what you're going to be able to do, if you want to go deep, you will be able to create multiple cards that link to the items. So consistent with our book and the Money Smart system, we have the set items for expenditure and income and borrowings, but you're able to then break it down. So how Jane and I use it, so I've got Jack's swimming in there, I've got Jack's taekwondo, I've got Harry's basketball and Harry's footy. So, I now can have an itemized look, but it also sums up into, in terms of recreation as the expense item. So I can see the summary, but I can also then go deep in terms of looking at each of the cards as part of that particular story. So that's number one in terms of what's coming soon. The next thing we've got, obviously, is what I mentioned a little bit earlier, gave a sneak peek. Historical tracking is going to be a game changer. So when you open up the card, you will be able to then load all of that historical change log in that change history. You can see it happening now in the demo. And so what that means is, as I said, if you've got really old spreadsheets from a decade ago, or you've got other information, you can log that in, and our graphs and charts will actually take all of that history and show you that ultimate change. So you will be able to not only have a look at changes that are happening on a monthly basis, you'll be able to go and have a look at all time those changes. So we're really excited about that. That's going to help you with confidence and behavior, because actually we are making progress, right? So when you start putting those old, sort of spreadsheet data in there, it's like, well, actually, this is pretty good. And you'll be able to get those deeper personalized insights as well. So that's really good. And finally, everyone wants to, have a really simple way in which you can compare the two different moments in time. So we're working towards having that comparison of financial positions. That was then, this is now, again, reinforcing that positive impact and that positive behavior about the progress that you're making towards financial peace.
So folks, we're super passionate about helping people manage their money as a foundational principle, right? So we love people investing in property. We love people investing in something that's going to give them an opportunity at financial peace. But underlying all that is foundational stuff around fixing your money management, right? So if you can have your goals, you can have money management sorted, you can get a sense of having some tools that help you bring future outcomes into present moment, so that the impact of decisions I make today, what is it actually going to have an impact on my WealthSPEED? What is that going to actually look on my WealthCLOCK? We're super proud of the contribution that we get to make to our community, right? So if you want to have a look under the bonnet and see some more details around, Ben showcased some of those dials. You can actually go and see, if you go to more.com.au/wealth dashboard, you'll see some descriptions and explainers of how we get the detail. So the people who love the detail, that's going to be perfect for you. For the others who love the big picture, you go, nah, just show me the WealthSPEED, that's all I need to know. That's no problem, you don't need to go there. Once you're in the app, there is an opportunity for you to ask for help. There's a need help button. We want feedback. We will continue to iterate this app over the journey. There are lots of features and functions you just saw from Ben, and that's only the tip of the iceberg that we've got planned for this, so there's plenty more to come. And if you want a recording of this presentation, Facebook will dish that up live. It'll dish it up in replay as well, so you can see that, share it, send it to your friends, someone who you think might benefit from understanding what their wealth speed is, so you can start to have the narrative around that. Please feel free to share it across your social networks as well. And of course, Ben, we've got a podcast coming out this afternoon at 3 o'clock, each and every Thursday, 3 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We are always talking about the next announcements we have. What are the plans? We're taking feedback. We're trying to bring the insights as well. So make sure you get a chance to check that out as well. So there is a lot that we're planning to do in this space, Ben.
Yeah, it's really simple if you think about what Bryce just mentioned before. Money Smarts for money management. Tool there to use if you need to. A central home for all of your financial matters. Including, there's document collection coming and a few other things. So you won't really need any other place to have this broad view, the top view, synthesized view of your financial situation, but you can go deep and you'll be able to also, start to track any transactional expenditure that's coming as well. So there's a real need for that. Then there is, what's my wealth position? And ultimately, as we start embedding our vision of the 7 grades of financial well-being, you'll also then get your ranking around that. So you can start to see this circle of life around how we're looking at your finances. But most importantly, it's all about how they relate to your goals and the things that you want to try and achieve. And that's why we call it a lifestyle by design platform. It really is about making sure that you're aligning all of that with, the money that you need to achieve those goals.
Yep, so it's super exciting, folks. Now, we're going to go to some Q&A. We're just going to quickly show you a video. There you go, folks. We're super proud of that. We want to deliver on the fact that you can achieve more with more, and we think that you can actually do that. So we're going to do a couple of quick questions.
Yep.
Here we go. First one here. What's the difference between the old platform for Empower Wealth and more, Ben?
Yep. So the old platform was called My Wealth Portal, and that was our client portal. Now it's basically called More, and it's on steroids. So if you do have the My Wealth Portal and all of the original data that you put in there, guess what? You've got an automatic account. So you use the same credentials to log in, and it's just a rebrand at the front end in terms of what it looks like for you. But it's supercharged in terms of all the new features and tools that we've added to that. But that's obviously, if you're looking for My Wealth Portal, use your same credentials to come in here. But firstly, go to my.more, moorr.com.au. That's the login page, and you'll be able to log straight in, and all your data that you put in there from the history will still be there.
It's a nice little evolution too, because you remember the fact find used to be in an Excel spreadsheet with a couple of tabs down the bottom.
Yes.
Then we got it up to online, which is My Wealth Portal, and now it's more. So it's not just for use for the business; it's used for broader
free
people.
for everyone. Free for everyone.
This one is from T. Came in late. Just a quick question: will there be a function to save all your tax documents?
The short answer to that is yes. Inside Empower Wealth, we do have a full document collection tool and an area to store all of those documents. And now we're sort of just testing that from a security point of view, that if we open that up to the general public to be able to then start not just thinking about tax documents, but all your property documents, all the reports, thinking about digitizing your filing cabinet for all of your finances, that's where we're swimming towards. So watch this space when it comes to that. But that is an awesome question, and we're fully aware in terms of making that investment into being able to store all that information for you.
All right, we've got this one from Doug. Thanks for your question. Thanks for your feedback earlier too, Doug, on the audio. How would someone interpret their WealthSPEED number to make it more than just a number. You can't use a gauge because everyone's circumstances are different. So it is more about baselining and then monitoring improvement of your own wealth speed from that moment onwards.
Yeah, so I mean, Doug, the first thing I would always say is have a look at your spending speed, have a look at your passive income speed, have a look at all of those sub gauges and work out ways in which you can make them go faster. Now, if you also go to the more.com.au website, I've started to release tutorial videos about how you can make it go faster. Because Doug is exactly right. If I've just been studying for the last 9 years and I'm going to come out of that as a doctor or a surgeon, my income is going to be very, very high, but I'm going to have all of this historical debt. So true. So if I want to compare myself to someone who's been working for 8 years of a similar age in a similar state, it's not going to mean much to me. So the best way to do it is, yep, I don't mind, we love peer reviews and we've got MoneyFit that help with those peer comparisons. But I would just say that my core message for anyone who's thinking about using this tool, just make it go faster. Mm-hmm. Look at essential versus discretionary spending. Look at what money that you might have in savings and start thinking about how you might invest that money. Because ultimately, money sitting in a bank account earning interest may not be as dollar productive or working as harder for you until you turn it into some type of investment. Because to Doug's point, every household is unique. Every household is different. So we could establish a bench line, but there's so many people who go, well, that's not my situation. And that's why we've always, from a business point of view, looked at tailored solutions for everyone. So that's part of the story about what we're doing. If I can add just a little bit more flavor to that, Bryce, and for anyone who's watching, is we've got this idea of obviously gaps, so WealthSPEED gaps and looking at, impacts on future retirement. So we're not done. If we think about our own clock, we're sort of at 3 o'clock in terms of what this platform is going to be able to be. We've just got so much evolution that's going to happen in terms of, the tools that we want to provide, because it comes back to our North Star principle, Bryce, and that is we are locked on in terms of helping households make better decisions with money and building up a nest egg that they can have a comfortable or, in our case, an amazing retirement because they plan to become what they plan to become. Yeah,
there's lots of wonderful things we've got planned. Doug, the only thing I would add to that is if you think about from the analogy of the car, if you're leaving to Melbourne, some people are driving down the coast road to get to Sydney. Some people are going the back road to Sydney. Some people want to go all the way to Queensland. Some people want to do it in 4 days. Some people want to do it in 10 days, right? So that's why all you really need to know is your speed enough for where you want to go? And if it's not, what do you need to do to speed it up? And if it is, stay on track, right? Mm. So sure, it's nice to compare to others, but someone who's on a $30 an hour speed and yours is on a $15 an hour speed doesn't mean they're any better than you. It just means that they might be taking longer to get to a destination that requires them to take a little bit more risk, for example, versus you at $15 an hour. So I think the best insights, Ben touched on it then, is if you go into the platform, you can see MoneyFit, where once you put your data in, based on your demographic, where you live, what your income is, what your expenditure is, you can actually get some anonymous peer review, which a lot of people like to do because they like to look over the fence. Yep. And everyone wants to know, how much do you, where do I fit, am I okay?
Where's my net worth position compared to everyone's net worth position? And you can do that by age and also by state, by household composition. So whatever your household composition, you can have a little fly around, do national, do those types of things. So that's called MoneyFit. It's available in the web version of the platform as well. But I love the question, Doug. Thank you for sharing that, because you're on the right track. I love the critical thinking that you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. So folks, if we could ask you a favor, if you see some value in these insights, we would love for you to share, maybe in the comments, just tag a friend who you think could benefit from listening to this. It's free, it gives you insights, it allows you to take action, it brings a future problem, brings it into present so you can actually do something about it now whilst you've still got time. So hopefully you can help us grow it by sharing it with as many people as possible. And as we said, it's free, the baseline is free, it always has been free, it always will be free. So we'd love for you to share. So folks, hopefully that's helped. Go and check it out, go and play around. Ben and I, as per usual, will be doing a podcast each and every week. So all you need to do is check it out at the podcast. Go to thepropertycouch.com.au.